Hey there. Welcome to Open Mic. I know we took a week off and it was a series of four. It was a four-session series, but we stopped last week and we're back this week on another set. We haven't set actually the what we're going to be talking about for the next set of four, but I know we have a lot to talk about tonight, and it's going to be really, really interesting. So hold on to your seats. Um, I'm your host, Ramsey Chiri. I'm a medium, intuitive healer, and what do I do? I do coaching, spiritual coaching. I need to remind myself a lot every time because I do receive coaching too from time to time. And my co host, I'll leave it up to her to introduce herself. Tanys, the floor is yours.
So I'm Tanys Coughlan from the Twillo Lifestyle Community, Twillo Lifestyle Academy. I am a Reiki master, intuitive healer, and basically a Celtic shamanic high priestess and a galactic ambassador, as well as a channel. So, you know, we both do we have a bunch of hats. I'm also an HR consultant, but that's different.
Beautiful ones. So, since we're all on, well, we're not on anything other than high on life. the last event we did, it was 2 a.m. in Italy, and I was half asleep, and we managed to do a full hour. Actually, we could have went even longer than that. It was
Yeah.
a very interesting session. It was the last session, and during my trip in Europe, I met some interesting people, and some of them were actually I don't know what you would call them. They see ghost. Well, one of them was a ghost hunter. Well, what she does is she goes around to old castles and old houses, and they talk to spirit over there, and they try to send them on their merry way. And the other person actually that I meant was really interesting is that these people were actually born with this gift of seeing. They didn't develop it. It was basically, it was kind of developed within them as they grew, and they allowed it to grow. That's the key, is that they allowed it to grow. Because, and please, I'm going to open this for a discussion between us, is that what happens to us along the way that we don't see anymore? Because as kids, we do tend to see and hear,
Mm-hmm.
and then as we grow older, those channels kind of shut off. Some of us, I think they shut them off on purpose, and other, it just fades throughout the years. So what's your thought on this?
So I think even the fade is kind of a reprogramming, right? We're born with the ability to do these things, and it's about vibration, really.
Mm.
Uh, when we're younger, our vibration is high because we don't have all the stress from having to pay bills and living our lives and rushing around and all of that stuff, which lowers our vibration, right? So we shut those things off. So I think the biggest part about sort of fostering those things would be to keep that vibration high. So even when we look at us as adults, if we start to get into it, like for myself, for my journey, I had shut it all down when I was a kid. And it was all about fear. I had a couple of experiences that were a little jarring, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. So I stayed away, and then I shut it down. And I think it happens automatically. It happens when it's meant to. And for me, I always joke about Reiki being my gateway drug to all of this stuff, because that's what kind of started me on the track. I was always aware there was stuff, and as I started to raise my vibration by doing more healing work and going through the levels of Reiki, and then having other attunements too. I mean, I've had all sorts of attunements. So attunements are those, basically a ceremony that creates in you more space to hold more light. So it helps you to increase your vibration, having an attunement. So as I got more attunements, my vibration raised, or I had the capacity to raise it. That's not to say we're always high vibe. I mean, we have our days too, right? Where we're like,
Yeah.
we're always going to have those days. We're human, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, we teach ourselves. We learn how to keep our vibe high. We do our own work. I mean, you and I both know we do our own work all the time. Like you and I, we do stuff with each other all the time to help out. So it's about supporting each other in that way, right? And helping each other to clear whatever energy's coming in and all that stuff. And that's what you really need to do in order to really raise your vibration, to be able to perceive these other dimensional frequencies where ghosts and stuff hang out, right? And so for me, that was how it started again, because I was aware of it when I was a child as well, but I think I cut it off probably around 5 or 6 years old. I guess I was still clairsentient, so I would still feel stuff around. But the visual, like I was very clairvoyant when I was a child, and just thought that it was my vivid imagination that I was seeing. So I really didn't realize that that's what it was until I look back now and went, oh, that's what that was, right? So I think there's a whole lot of other people out there that are actually way more sensitive, way more intuitive than they actually allow themselves to even entertain.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. And that's true. It's also with my development over the years. I realized today that what kind of an empath I was at a younger age, and how and actually while I was in England, I was talking to my relatives over there. I said, "I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to see anybody. Not because I never liked you. It's just this. There's this. I feel people's pain. I
Mm-hmm.
feel people's energies around that I don't want to be around anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I want to be alone, really alone. So we talked about that, and it was interesting that even in my profession in the 3D world, I have to meet people, talk to people, I manage people across the globe. So there's this constant interaction and energy change among people. But still, when 5 o'clock hit or when I leave the office, I really wanted to hibernate.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to hibernate, and that also stopped me from seeing things. And same as you, I started doing my Reiki healing, my Reiki learning, and that's when it popped up. It popped up really strong. I was seeing visions, vivid, colorful, and during practices, and one day I got to see something that was a bit dark. Actually, it was a lot dark, and and I couldn't. The energy hit me so hard that I couldn't breathe anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and what happened is that I stopped. I said, "Okay, I don't want to see this anymore. I just want to stay out of it." And from there, it started. It went dormant for a while, and then but it stayed in the background. And afterwards, slowly, it started to rise. And what do you call it? And I I redeveloped it. I started going into it, and the funny part is that there's a sense within you that what do you call it? Oh, I just got something. Okay, we're we were having
We're having a
some.
couple of technical issues here, so we're just bear with us.
Yeah. So I think I got it now, and okay. So what happens is that in the background, it really wanted to come out. I could not control it anymore. I couldn't say, "Oh, let me stop." No, I just couldn't. There's something in me that wanted to to just explode. And slowly, it geared me towards the right place, and I started training again, and that's when the whole thing came out one more time. So it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't go away. It sits dormant on the side, and
Yeah.
then slowly it comes back to life. So it was interesting to see people, what do you call it, that are that have allowed it to flourish at a younger age,
Mm-hmm.
and they're now at an older age, and they what do you call it, they just don't know what to do with it really, but they know they have it, and they can chat with it. And one person is who wasn't a what do you call it, a ghost hunter per se. She would see them, and they moved. Of course, London is a very old city, so they moved into this old apartment building. I think it was from the early 1900s or something, or late 18. I can't remember the date, but they get in the elevator, and the ghost itself, and I hope I don't spook out people, is that the ghost itself was saw that that person could see them,
Mm-hmm.
and they needed help to cross over. So every time that person took the elevator, it stopped on the first floor, and the door opens, and there was that lady standing there in the hallway.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I go, okay, did you talk to that person, to that spirit? Did you
Mm-hmm.
allow them to? And actually, the person did speak to the spirit, and what happened? I think they got someone to clear it. And after that happened, after the clearing took place, the elevator started going up and down with no stopping on the first floor.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing how that happened. That happens. I mean, I guess part of my mission is crossing people over. So I do a fair bit of that work as well. But that's not something that people know that I do necessarily, because
Yeah,
it's something because they're attracted, right? When they know that we can see them, somehow they
yeah.
know that, and they get attracted. I mean, I know there's been times when I haven't done it for a while, and I actually have a raven that'll come and let me know that it's time to do it. And I'll end
Oh,
up with the raven, and I'll check in and be like, so how many? And I've had up to like 378, I think, at one time that I had to cross over. And I was like, holy crap, I've been not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So, I'll do the whole tube of light and play traffic control and just kind of send them into the light whenever they can, like whenever they are ready. Call in the angels and all of that stuff. Um, and yeah, so it's quite an interesting phenomenon. I guess you could say. When the first time that I saw the dead, it was a little surprising, I have to say. It was in a Reiki session. Um, and all of a sudden this like person standing at the other end of the table, and I'm like, uh, so you have to understand though, when you see them, they're not like solid like us, right? It's like seeing a translucent picture or a hologram of what they look like. At least that's what it is for me. Is that what
mm-hmm.
it's like for you as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Shades.
yeah. So it's like, and then one of the more impactful ones for me was um, a different client's session, and we start into the session, and all of a sudden, the room is packed, and I'm like, what is going on here? And it was almost like when they talk about the veil, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like the white curtains that I have behind me. It's like seeing through that. But so they were there, but it was almost like a reverse silhouette. So the beings were light, and behind them was dark, but they were like through it looked like I was looking at them through a sheer curtain. And then
Mm.
as they wanted to come forward and express themselves, they would step forward, and they'd all of a sudden be a little clearer than if they were behind the curtain. So that was kind of how that happened. And then, in that particular case, one of them stepped forward and said, I've been trying to reach her for years. I'm like, do you know her? And he said, no, but we've been trying to reach her for years. I'm all right. So apparently she's got a mission with you, you know? So yeah, so those kinds of things, it's quite interesting when you start doing that. And, you think it's just in your head, but I've had so many experiences where, nope, it isn't. I was sitting having coffee with a guy one day, and we're both sitting there, and all of a sudden, both of us turned our head like we had seen something. And there's a female ghost standing there. Like she's been here a while. Like she's like old time kind of dress, and I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at him, looking at her, and I'm like, can you see that? He's like, yeah, you can see that? I'm like, yes. And then we proceeded to describe like what she was wearing back and forth. It was like I would be like, look at the red dress, yeah, and the blue hat, and the green shoes, and what I'm exaggerating, but that's what I mean. She wasn't wearing that, of course. She looked much classier than that, but it was that kind of thing, right? We described it back and forth, so it was quite an interesting realization. I've had numerous times like that now since, but that was very interesting. So big shout out to Michelle Marie at Astrological Tarot. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Hello. We have quite a few people here, actually. Shout out to Barrett, who looks like he is a sensitive as well. And Kylie Grieg. Kylie, tonight is actually, it's not readings per se, it is a conversation. So just so that you know. And yeah, so thanks everyone for coming. It's awesome.
So why do they stay behind? It's a very interesting question, and I think we should go venture into it a bit. From my experience, okay, when we say behind, it's just from from our perspective that is behind. They're moving forward, but the reality is everything and everyone is all around in the same space.
Yep.
Now, there are two sections to it. Sometimes a spirit has not fulfilled a certain obligation or a certain task before it left, and it continues going around in order to complete it. For example, I channeled a couple of spirits whereby they came by just to finish something, to say goodbye, to say I'm sorry for certain things. And once that happens, is that there's a weight that is lifted whereby they can move forward. Now, last time I did, I was doing something like that, and the spirit didn't want to go afterwards. I tried to created the tunnel of light and send it over, and it actually said no. And it hovered around for 3 more days around that person that it needed to get an acknowledgement for. Okay, I can't go in deep. I'm trying to find words in order not to talk about that incident, but
You had some unfinished business with somebody.
yes. So once that was finished, the spirit left.
Yeah.
Once it was acknowledged for whatever it came to do, it left. So there's that part of it. There's another part. One of the students in my class that we were doing last year, she got a spirit that was upset. I don't want to say angry, but it was upset.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, she said, okay, she said, let me just ask a question. Why are you so upset? And the spirit goes, well, nobody's listening to me.
Yeah.
And my classmate goes, are you aware you're dead? And the spirit was not.
No, I've had that as well.
Yeah. So the minute the awareness came into play, it shifted from a manifested into an unmanifested being, and it accepted the state that it was in and turned into a loving light and went away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are multiple factors that affects the spirit world the same way there are multiple factors that affects the manifested world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll throw the ball in your court to give us some examples on what you've seen uh, during what do you call it, spirit clearings or sending them to the other side. What are
Mm.
some stories that you faced with?
So a couple that stand out for me. One was a child that didn't want to cross because it didn't want to leave its parents.
Mm.
Didn't really understand the concept of death yet. And this wasn't helping for her because she was like, but my parents. Like, well, they have to stay here. No, I don't want to go without my parents. And so that was a tough one for me. That one was I had to call in the angels to come and comfort her and help her with that. So that one is because she didn't want to be separated, right? And I know that there's been others like that as well. Sometimes I have had the ones that didn't know they were dead, for sure, and they are frustrated. They're like, it is like that. They're like, I don't know why you're not listening to me. And they don't realize that they've crossed
Mm.
over. And that was that particular one was like a severe, they died in a severe car accident.
Mm.
So it was like instant kind of death. And so they didn't know why people weren't listening to them at the crash site, and they were thrown from their body. So they were like walking around, in their mind, they're walking around and trying to get everybody's attention. And they just didn't see, I guess, that they were not in that body anymore. Another one that I had was it was somebody that was in a house that I went to clear, and it was kind of sad. It was actually, so this is a bit weird, but it was a hit basically. He died in a hit, so he was like executed, and this was a while back, not like yesterday kind of thing. But he left his wife and child. He had a young child at the time. And so he didn't want to leave his wife and child. And he felt it was gambling debts or something. And so he felt awful and he just couldn't leave them. And so that's why he was stuck. He just couldn't leave. He had like unfinished business, right? And then, I have found that when they're in their death state. So I also went to Toronto, and I went on this trip, and we ended up staying at a friend of a friend's place. And we go into this house, and there's a woman. I'm a physical empath. And so I've had experiences with them where they are so anxious to show me what happened to them that I end up feeling it physically. And so that's it can be kind of painful. So this particular house, I went in there and there was a woman standing in the living room, and I'm like, hey dude, what's up? Like, what are you doing here? And she started showing me what happened, and she died of a heart attack, basically.
Mm.
And so I had chest pains and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well, let's cross you over. You don't need to be here. This is you don't need to be here. It's much better over there. You won't have that. So she did. And then all of a sudden this man comes through the wall, because it was the neighbor. It was like a semi-detached place. And he comes through the wall, and he's got his neck all, and he'd fallen down the stairs. So while I'm trying to cross him over, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, back up, dude, because, that's a little strong. Yeah, it was quite funny. And I don't think anybody had crossed people over in the area in Toronto, that particular area of Toronto, for quite a while, because I ended up with this huge lineup. I was like, okay, guys, no, we're not doing this. I'm not here for this. So, I did a few and put up the pillar of light so they could find it. But anyway, yeah, so it varies a lot. And, when they're in that in-between state, they still have their personalities
Mm-hmm.
from this life,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
When they cross over, they can still come back. We can still see them. We still get messaging in that way. They look much more translucent, like they're not as solid looking. And at least this is my experience. Is that the same for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I find that when they're back after they've crossed over, they don't have the same personality. So they'll come back and they'll be like, please just tell them I've always loved them. I'm so sorry for treating them that way. And, and I've had people say, well, that wasn't like them. That can't be them that you're talking to. And I'm like, well, when they cross over, they don't have all the fear and the shame and the guilt and the heavy emotions that they carry when they're here.
Mm.
And that's what creates people that are in that, those difficult personalities.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think that plays a role. And then when they cross over, they shed all of that. They don't have the ego anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the well, in terms of feeling them, like you were saying, what I notice is that shape, hair color, the length of the hair, it varies. It's not the same as it is over here. But what they try to do, they try to um, give certain signals where the loved one will be able to understand it.
That's right.
And I get to, for some reason, I get to feel how they died. It's like,
Welcome to
no,
my
no,
world.
no, we're gonna tell you how it is, and then you're gonna tell them, and then the breathing, the pain, whatever it is starts to come out, and then the person on the other side will go, "Oh, that looks just like that person," um, and
Yeah.
so they use different techniques. It depends on the person that is reading to relay a message through them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating, really.
It's a totally different world, which is not far from ours. It's right over here.
It's
So
here.
it's literally
Yeah.
right here, right
Yeah.
here. And actually, we were talking the other night, 2 days ago, and I was just like all over the place, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I was just, and you go, just close your eyes and just figure out what they're trying to tell you.
We were
And
trying to write our course, by the way, which is because Ramsey and I are working on a class that we're
yeah,
bringing next week, 2 hours, Thursday, right?
yes, Thursday.
Thursday, 7 to 9. You can sign up on Twillo Lifestyle at the Twillo Lifestyle Academy, Twillo Lifestyle Community. So we were trying to write that course. Sorry, shameless plug.
Yeah. By the way, that course will also help you to understand certain things, other things, and gives you the tools to be able to open up your channels,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to see and communicate with the souls that have just crossed over. So she goes, okay, close your eyes, and I close my eyes, and I go, okay, who's here? And it wasn't funny, but the funny part is that they started coming, and it was actually the war in Ukraine that had sent a couple of them my way.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bit gruesome. Not everybody gets to see that, but I guess I had to see it for whatever reason. I've seen it before in real life in wars, but this time I had to see it in the afterward. Oh, it was heavy. It's still heavy.
So I'm getting that there's some clearing there for you in that, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
some
absolutely.
healing for your own. Yeah.
So again, send them through the tube of light and bless them over to the other side, and that was actually very relieving and helped out. So they come in different shapes and forms at different times. It all depends, and that doesn't mean that we're 100% open to receiving them at any point in time during the day.
Mm-mm. No.
So
They need to, it's like you need to make an appointment, or we get told to make an appointment, which is
yeah.
what happens with my bird, right? That's
Mhm.
my indicator. It's like he's my secretary and he tells me when I have a lineup. I have this. It's an interesting story actually, because um, I have a raven that comes to tell me, and I started seeing this raven everywhere, and I'm like, is this for me? Like it would be like on a pole when I was at a stoplight, or it would
Mm.
be in the grass beside where I parked in a parking lot, or things like that. And I started to notice it, and I'm like, so I said to Spirit one day, I'm like, okay, if he's there for me, then you need to put him like right in front of me where I'm not going to mistake what he's there for, right? That he's there
Mm.
for me. Well, within a day and a half, 2 days of that, I'm sitting in 4 lanes of traffic in the middle at rush hour. So I'm in the middle, and I'm surrounded by cars, and a big black bird comes and sits on the road when we're at a stop. We're at stop right near my front tire on the driver's side. What birds do that? I couldn't help but take that as a sign. And so then I tuned in again to the guides. I'm like, okay, so he's a sign. So what's he here for? And I was told that he's there to let me know about that. Because then when I tuned in, after they told me that, that was the time I had like 300 and some, because I hadn't been doing it. Because I didn't, that was kind of me realizing that I had to do it regularly as a maintenance thing. So yeah, it was kind of funny.
Oil change for the car.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I'll see him, and he'll come and sit
Yeah.
beside me somewhere, and I'll be like, okay, gotcha. And then he'll fly away.
We have a question from a Facebook user. It says why they stay behind. What do you mean by stay behind? They're actually maybe you missed
I,
what we discussed
yeah,
earlier.
that's been there for a bit. So I think that's why
Oh,
they were asking that. So we've kind of answered that question for them, I think.
I just saw that. I do apologize.
Yeah, I think we've answered that question for them. Interesting. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. I think that it's important to note that all dimensions are all around us all at the same time here.
Yeah.
But just because we're aware of them doesn't mean we're tuned into them all the time. And I think that's what we were getting to, right? Is that we don't, like, I don't sit here and see all 12 dimensions in front of me right now. I almost like, as a tool, early on, I started using almost like a tuning knob for myself. So I would tune into the channel, like kind of tune into the frequency, kind of like, Um, and then I would be able to zone in on that frequency and what beings were at that frequency and that kind of thing. Because, the ascended masters are at one frequency, angelics are at another, the dead are at another. So it just depends. So we have a question here. Why so many waiting? So there's been a big sort of, this is over the last few years. We've had a big sort of, I want to say a cleanup. It's like a karmic clearing cycle that we've been going through. And with that, as people clean up their karma, the dead are ready to move on. And they're just not, they don't know how, right? We're not in a society that has really embraced, we're getting better, but we're not in a society that actually embraced um, knowing about the spiritual aspect of life. And so they're not really sure what it means. And some of them are very scared to cross over because they don't know what that means to cross over. And, you have to keep in mind, this is just energy that we're seeing. And like Ramsey said, they show us something that will indicate to their loved one who they are. So when the energy leaves the body, it's just like a ball of energy. But when they come to somebody who can see them, they show us what we need to see in order to help them. That's kind of how it works. And so with this karmic clearing, people here are doing a bunch of karmic clearing. So they're getting closure with people that have passed, and then those people that have passed can go on. So there's been kind of a karmic clearing lately. And I think there's been more conscious help for them. I think, if they don't know what they're doing and they're afraid because we're not sure what's after death, because that's just the belief system of our society, then it makes it difficult for people to let go when they do pass sometimes. So I don't say that in the sense that, there's like a huge percentage that don't cross over. Of course not. You know, like 99.5% cross over, right? It's just that when they know we can see them, they collect because they want help. And so if there aren't a lot of sensitives or there aren't a lot of people doing this kind of work in the area, they can collect.
And
Can I answer
also,
that question, do you think?
I think you did answer it. And the thing is, I just wanted to point out, why do they go to certain people, not others? And that's because
Yeah.
um, we're like a beam of light for them. They go, ah, there it is. It's like a lighthouse. That's what it is. We're a lighthouse. So they look at the lighthouses to see who can help them cross over. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you,
I'm
Michelle.
not- Pardon?
I'm just thanking Michelle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we've been having a troll. I don't know how to do these things. It's just something new that happened today, and I'm. But I think I blocked. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
So yeah.
So yeah, so we become like a beacon. And that's what I mean by they know sort of who's in charge of that. I think we must have some light implanted before we come down or something. I don't know. It's also the high vibration thing, right? Because we have to be high vibration in order to be able to see the other dimensions and stuff. So when we're high vibration, you know, that creates I guess, a shine or a glow. The aura becomes a little brighter than most or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
That's
it's
the
just kind of who we are. So
Yeah. The only thing is that I'm not from the other side looking in to see what actually happens. But oh yes, we understand now. Oh, that's good. But it's a good visual image to say, oh, okay, yeah, I can go there and they'll give me some answers or whatever it is.
yeah.
That's where the light is. And plus, once they see the light, they know we can see them also.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's a communication that takes place between the two.
Yeah. And it's
Um,
telepathic, eh, guys? Like we don't need to actually speak a communication with them where they communicate telepathically. So, you know, I could cross people over and nobody around me would even know I'm doing it. You know?
yeah.
So it's and you know, I've been reading interested in this, of course, doing a bit of research on telepathy, and you know, we were all actually born capable of doing that, but we don't utilize it, and
Mm.
so it's kind of like a language, right? When you don't use a language, you start to lose it, and so you know, you'll see twins and stuff that they all of a sudden know stuff that the other one's doing, or they'll know that they're in crisis, or and that's a form of telepathy, and so they get because we're all connected. So all of that stuff just goes
Back and forth.
back and forth.
Yeah, we actually talked about the connection. I can't remember in one of those episodes. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
a net of well, it's a web that surrounds the earth, and we're all connected to it. So when you gave the example, I think the monkey in Japan and the monkey in North America,
Yeah.
one learned to use a tool, and immediately the monkey on the other side of the world was able to pick up the same tool and use it. So the
Thank you.
sorry. Today's one of those days. Text Michelle again for all these trolls. Yeah, so once you're able to understand this or to tap into it, because what we need to do to tap into it is just to quiet the mind a bit, expand or raise the vibration, and we are able to tap into it. It'll be easier communication.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And that's coming. I've been told that's coming. You know, because the galactic beings that I work with, you know, they communicate that way all the time. So
mhm.
that's kind of part of that fifth dimensional frequency stuff that we're going to be headed towards. But it's going to take some time, and it's going to take openness on our part and an awful lot of love. because love is at high vibration, right? So we've got to raise the vibration of the earth in order to be able to do this kind of thing. You know, and
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful way to connect with each other. I mean, think about how, I guess, intimate it is when you can sit and look at somebody and you just know what they're feeling and thinking without
Yeah.
saying anything, and it's just that connection, right? That beautiful, intimate, authentic connection when you know that.
And that doesn't have to happen when you're sitting in front of each other. That
No.
could happen from across the globe.
Yep. Yep. Indeed.
It's interesting, and you should look at it as when you're sitting in a Zoom call,
Mm-hmm.
and there you have multiple people in different countries all connected together at the same time, and they are all able to see and feel each other without even having to do anything because everybody is on the same frequency. And when you look at somebody's face, even on a screen, if you put the intention to see and feel that person, you can easily feel them.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I noticed,
I do want to
go
add
ahead.
a little bit of ethics to that, though,
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, please, please.
because you know, when you do that, when you have the intention to feel somebody's energy or to do that, it is an intimate thing, and people will feel it. Like if somebody does that for me, I will feel somebody connecting.
Mm.
And so it is important to be cautious about how much you do that and who you do it with. Okay?
Yeah,
Because you know, we don't want to be, because it will shut down basically. If you're too intrusive, the guides will shut you down.
yeah,
So, you know, even when you like astral travel and stuff, you're not going to go and be in, you know, the locker room just because, right? There has to be like a reasonable reason, a healing reason, one of love, one of that you're doing this, and you need permission. Just like when we do distance healing, you know,
yes. You need the
I
approval.
always want the approval. I always want permission to work
Yes,
with somebody. And so it's the same thing. So I just wanted to put that out there, that there is like an ethics piece to this work,
yeah,
right? Because it is an intimate connection when you dial into somebody's energy.
absolutely.
Sorry to
But
interrupt. But
no, no, no. It's all good. I'm very happy that we were able to bring it up. And what I meant by feel the person on the call is feel what they are showing you, not tapping into them. And it's very important because what you said is very, very important. We have to keep the privacy, and we can't just intrude on people because we can do it. We all can do it.
right. So there's a difference between tuning into their energy and feeling what they're projecting.
Yeah,
So feeling what people are projecting happens to us all the time.
yeah,
Right? Tuning into somebody's energy is having the intention of going into their aura to feel what they're feeling, as opposed to just receiving whatever's being pushed out.
yeah,
That's kind of what you're trying to say, right?
yeah,
That it's
yeah,
that
yeah.
we're projecting. Yeah.
Mm.
So we have a couple of questions again. So we've got why some people don't dream. So everybody dreams actually. Why we don't remember them is another thing. Okay. And it depends what you're dreaming. It depends whether you're meant to remember it. I mean, yes, there's a science piece behind it. You have to get into REM. You have to, you know, you have to be sleeping deep enough to do that. But we do all have dreams, you know, probably 90% of the nights
Mm.
when we have good sleep. And when we do that, we are astral traveling.
Yes.
So have you ever had those dreams where, or those nights where you're in the middle of a dream and you wake up and you're like startled in bed, you know, and your spouse goes, "What?" because you're like shaking the bed because you've done that. That's a rough reentry when you're astral traveling.
Yeah.
So, you know, we do astral travel all the time. People uh, always think of astral travel as like this thing, but we all do it because we go to the Akashic Record Zone and put in our records every day of what's happened. So, yeah. So we do actually dream. They just don't remember them. And sometimes that's a defense mechanism of what they're doing in the dreams, because when we astral travel, we all have different jobs that we're doing in the different dimensions at night. Um, yeah. So it depends on what they're doing. And what is the way to protect yourself from unethical people? That would be doing things like tubing, imagining a cloak around you of protection, having the intention that you are in a tube of light, or that you're in a, that you've got a sphere of light around you, that kind of thing. Crystals, you can use things like black tourmaline, that's black obsidian, jet protective crystals, right? Like, I guess another one is tiger's eye. So those kinds of crystals can help as well. They go into your field. But the higher you are in vibration, the less you really have to worry about it in terms of because it's like we have an energy field, and if your energy field is nice and strong, the energy that's coming in just dissipates before it gets to you. So, the higher and stronger your aura is, the easier it is to push off that stuff. And you don't need to worry about it anyways. So even the unethical people, like, what are they gonna gain by checking your energy, right? If they're making you feel icky and you know who it is, you can call them on it. I've done that. I mean, I don't do it verbally. I usually do it in terms of telepathically. So someone's in my aura, and I will look at them and be like, really? Really? And they know they're doing it. I've caught people doing that, and they'll be like, oh. And all of a sudden they're out of my aura. I'm like, oh, good.
And we all can do that. I just want to bring it up to all the people that are listening, is that you can do it too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There's little techniques that you would learn along the way that will help you develop those senses and be able to see or feel when you're when somebody's intruding, when something is not right and you're not sure about it. That's a sign.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't know what is happening, that's a sign. Try to protect yourself. And that tubing exercise is really, really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really recommend it. We give it we mentioned that exercise two
ago.
2 episodes ago, I think.
Yeah, we can do it again if you like. I mean, maybe there's different people watching. So if you just close your eyes, I want you to feel your aura, right? So that's that energy field that's around our bodies. Just feel the aura. See what that feels like right now. Okay. Then I just want you to repeat after me, because the archangels are going to bring in a big tube of light around you with this. Okay, so just repeat it out loud. Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Uriel, and Archangel Raphael. If it's appropriate, for as long as it's appropriate, please tube me. And just feel that tube come down around you. Okay. Sometimes people feel it like a bit of cool air. Sometimes it feels a bit like a vacuumy kind of feeling. Depends.
What I like to do is put a zipper to it. And I find it so visually appealing.
Mm-hmm.
And I pull the zipper up, and as it's going up, I feel like a shrink wrap going around me.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull it all the way up to my head, and I feel well protected. And I actually literally feel something that just grabbed me,
So you've got your own little sleeping bag that you go around in.
Yeah.
Energetic sleeping bag. That's what you got. It's cute. So you can use, it's all about the intention, guys. Okay?
Yeah.
All the intention. These are visuals that we give you or whatever, but it's really all about the intention. So when we intend the tube of light to come down and we're asking the angels for help, I mean, we have to ask them for help. They can't intervene for us unless we ask. Okay.
So again, just to mention the course for a second, it's next Thursday at 7 o'clock. So next Thursday we don't have a live event. We're gonna do the course. It's called Introduction to Spiritual Messaging.
Mm-hmm.
It is on Awaken to Your True Self. It is on Twillo Lifestyle, and it's where else? It must be in 2-3 places.
We have it on Facebook on both of those because we're both
Yeah.
hosting. And then if you go to the Twillo Lifestyle website, you'll see it on current events or current workshops, or I think it's an events page. I think it's events we have at the top. And you'll see it there. So you can click on there and register there, or the links are in the Facebook page, the Facebook events.
Yeah.
The links to sign up are in there. So it is a paid class, and you'll be learning, a bunch of techniques to help you work on this. And, you get to ask questions and stuff because it's live. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. I am so looking forward to it.
Awesome.
And I think we have another question. I don't know why I have to jump back and forth, but palm hands tickle.
Yeah, that's the light. So when the light comes in, we have chakras in our hands, and it probably activated your chakra in your hand. So that's how we do Reiki too, is we send energy out through our hand chakras. So it probably just activated those chakras for you. Because when we put light in, right, it runs through us because we're channels for energy.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Oh, you read through it. I didn't. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So yeah, our course next Thursday. So it's going to be an intro. So there's a lot of things to be given. They're starting level. So if you know nothing, or you think you know nothing, you know a lot, and you can join us. And if you know something, it helps to be part of the class, part of the group, part of the team. And
the other thing we should mention, when you're in a group of people who are all sensitives and high vibration, you will be more so. When you have others, like when you join in a group, a bunch of people together, and you're sensitives or you're intuitives, those abilities are heightened because it's like 1 + 1 = 3 when you get into this stuff. So just keep that in mind. It's a benefit of being in a group when you do this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't put in the second and third class yet, but we're starting with this one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be interesting for a lot of people, just like myself, and I'm sure Tanys also, is that at the beginning we needed some kind of a guidance, and we weren't sure where to start and where to go, what needs to be done. Not all of us want to be a medium or psychic, but it really opens up the eye to see the unseen and be able to understand what it is that is happening with us internally. I'm not talking about sending spirits to the light. It's just actually clearing ourselves and understanding where is all this feeling coming from and what do I do with it. And that voice in the head when it says turn right and then you avoid the traffic accident, where is it coming from? Who's saying it? Why can't I hear it every time? Like, why is it just one time that it happened and then afterwards it goes away? One of the things at the beginning, I used to look at at nowhere on the ceiling. I go, this is not a one-night stand. You don't have the right to do this. You say you should stay right beside me and keep on talking.
Be careful what you wish for, then you get nights like that at night. You can't focus. Yes.
So it is like for a beginner, it's like, oh my god, what just happened? I broke something. I'm broken, and then you go into these spiral thoughts, because that's what we like to do. All humans are the same. For some reason, we'll like that. It
Yeah.
makes us very happy. So we go into these spiral thoughts, and it's like, oh no, that's not for me. No. But then that itch inside, you need to understand it, and it's good to have a general idea, so it helps you with your day-to-day life, and also it helps with, like I said, clearing you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of everyday reasons to use your intuition, right? Just because we were talking about ghosts and stuff tonight, I mean, if that's not your thing, it doesn't mean you're not going to want to tap into your intuition. We
Yeah.
use our intuition all the time. We tune into our body, and if our body is feeling then we're like, oh, that's maybe not for me, right? We kind of make those decisions, and we're not um, like aware of why we're making them sometimes. And so some of this class that we're going to teach is about how do we figure that out, and how do we feel into the body, and how do we know what feels right for us and what doesn't, because that's the start of intuition, right? We'll talk about the clairs and what those are, and how they present themselves, and that kind of stuff as well. And descriptions, because there's everybody throws around all these different words, right? Channel and medium and psychic, and what does that all mean? So
Mhm.
so that's what we're going to talk about too, try and get some
Yeah,
clarity.
it's very important. There's some terminologies are important to understand, and if you recall at the beginning when we started doing this, and you mentioned raise your vibration this way, and I said this is a good way of looking at it, but you can expand it, because for
Yes.
me, it took me a long time to understand, how am I going to raise my vibration? What, am I going to go up the mountain and live like a monk in a cave, and then my vibration will go higher? And I couldn't grasp it.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes terminology could be deceiving if you don't understand it well. And it took me a while to understand this one and others too. And that actually, oops,
Confirmed.
sorry.
Confirmed.
Yes, confirmed.
Confirmed.
So you understand them, and you'll be able to when you read something, when you see something, when somebody says something, you'll be able to understand it and relate it to yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how it feels within you.
And that's
Because
part of why we decided to do this together too, right?
yes,
Because
yes,
we have there's a common thread between how you and I do things, but we have these different approaches to it,
yeah,
which it's going to help our students even more, because we'll be able to sort of someone's going to really resonate with how you're looking at things, and someone's going to really resonate with how I look at things, and hopefully that will help bring a beautiful synergy, right, to the class. You know,
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
yeah.
So, on that note, anybody has any other questions? It was a wonderful evening. Oh my God, it's a ghosty evening.
Ghost stories. Yeah.
All we need is a bonfire
That's
and
for
a.
you if you guys are interested. I do house cleanings and stuff. I have quite a few.
So, anybody else has any questions, concerns? They want to say something? I know we still have. Oh,
Oh,
love
lots of hearts. Thank
you.
you. Big hearts to you too.
Ah, I can't get this right, but it should look like
There
a
you
heart.
go. We're training him.
Eventually. Hi, Shauna.
Shana. So yeah,
So,
I think that this is going to become an even bigger topic over the next little while, with the way the earth and everything is going, and with our evolution.
yeah,
Humans are evolving, and this is becoming more evident for more people. So I kind of see us needing to support people as they go through this process,
mm,
because it's unknown. And I didn't have a lot of support. I had some key people during my second round of this. When I was older, that was great, but if I'd had them when I was younger, it would have been nice. I'm actually going to have a conversation with a woman probably next week about that. She's got a little one who's a sensitive, and we're going to talk about that and the connection between ADHD and autism and psychic.
Oh, we mentioned that, but that will keep it till next time. Yeah, ADHD is a topic to bring up and help people. I'll share that while the session tonight.
Oh, the night light's blinking all the time. Yeah, we brought in the guides. Sorry.
Yeah.
Did you see the post about the mediumship course? You might have. If Shauna, if you go to Twillo Lifestyle Community, the events, you'll see it there under events. And it's spiritual messaging is what it's called. Okay, so it's not mediumship or channeling. It's like spiritual messaging. It's kind of an intro class to go into those other ones a little bit more. So yes, when you see lights and stuff and all that kind of stuff happening, that's the guides trying to communicate to us, and that's always fun. Yes, that's what I thought. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
A lot of fun.
It was an awesome evening. Thank you, and have a great evening. And hopefully we'll see you next Thursday in a class.
Yeah.
Next Thursday we're off. The Thursday after, open mic will be back. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Lots of love.
Again.
Bye.
Mine is weird.
It's getting
shape.
there. Good job. Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.